Welcome to another episode of Spark. Today's guest is Navarro Montes. After her studies in Spain, she had a first-hand founder's experience in biotechnology and dove deep into the US ecosystem at UC Berkeley's Skydeck. A few years later now, she helps founders from Europe navigate the US landscape. If you've ever thought about founding in the US or entering the US market, this episode is for you. You're living in both worlds, so here's the big one: Europe or the United States?
My heart is divided. I'm Spanish, I would say. I'm European, but I've been recently a lot in the US, so I also fell in love with that culture, especially in the Bay Area, the Silicon Valley. It's very hard for me to choose, but in terms of personal life, I would choose Europe. For professional purposes, I would choose the US.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of the stuff you hear all the time a little bit. Is it still the same for you, regarding the political changes in the US?
So I think that in this specific region, which is Silicon Valley or California, I haven't seen so many differences or changes after the new government. So, I've not been to other places like Texas, which may be more affected. So I would say that for me, it's still the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I have thousands of questions.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
So, first of all, I would really like to talk about the differences between Europe and the US, and later on, focus a bit more on specific stuff in the US. But you already mentioned the culture. So,
exactly.
What comes to mind first?
So I would say that in the US, people are usually more workaholics, and they are very business driven or very entrepreneurial. In terms of, it's very usual or very common to see in the US a lot of people who want to start a company and who want to make a huge impact in society or in a specific thing. Whereas we also see this in Europe. I would say I'm originally from Spain, so I've seen a lot of differences from the Spanish region and also the California Bay Area region. I don't know about Germany. This is actually my first time in Germany. But I've also seen from the very little time I've been here, there's a lot of also entrepreneurial culture and people who are willing to make an impact in society or build something really big.
Okay, maybe that's also due to the regional factors in Munich. I don't know. We had another episode where we talked about that a lot. And would you say this more entrepreneurial mindset, is a different culture of risk taking or just openness to trying out new things? Where does this come from?
I think that when you talk about risk and failure in the US, failure is more considered to be something good. It has a positive connotation. When you talk to investors, I've been talking to several VCs, and they say that they usually prefer to invest in those founders who actually have had some past failures with their startups, because they've learned more than the ones that are new in the game or haven't had any failure in their lives.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, they've gone through a lot and they have learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
So whereas in Spain or here in Germany, I see that failure is considered to be something negative and something that, if some people are even scared of leaving their jobs and leaving university to take the risk and go forward and create a startup. But in the US, it's something very common. I would just be talking to other founders and they were I dropped school and then I founded my company and now I've just raised 1 million from this company. And I was wow. So it's a different mindset, I would say.
Would you say it's because people also have to win more because the upside is bigger, or?
I think it's also the society and there's a lot of also good universities around the Bay Area, and there's a lot of VCs willing to give money. And so I think that they have more also case studies. They have seen more success cases. And so they can see that it's actually a possibility. It's going to be very hard, like, don't get me wrong, but still you see that it is possible. And there's some other founders who've been doing it in the past. So, and there's also a lot of people who are willing to be there for you. Like, you can go, in my experience, I've been to networking events and I've seen some people who were founders in the past and exited like 1 or 2 companies. And then you can just go to them and you can ask for help. And then at least a coffee, like, they're going to help you and they are going to be there for you to share the experiences and give you feedback. So I think that that's easier to get in the US. It's not only about the money, but like about the support and the whole ecosystem and like the talent from universities that is there available for you.
This sounds great. But I feel like actually in Munich, there's stuff like this developing as well. So I feel like the number of good examples continues to grow and they sort of stay in the ecosystem and try to support it.
Exactly.
So maybe it's the right way. Let's
Yes.
hope for it. Would you also say that the style of networking is different in the US?
100%. Like, you can imagine, I feel like Spanish people, we are very social and we go there. But, you know, I think that we are also very humble in a way in which when you go to the US, when you go to the Bay, and then you talk to other founders, they are like bragging a lot, like, I've been doing this. And then I feel like there's like a lot of smoke around them. Like, they've been doing so many good things and they are having this, and this. So when you talk to investors and you approach them with this like humble mindset and these like humble words, they actually like believe half of the things that you say. So in the end, you also need to end into that like bragging state and maybe not lying, but like decorating the truth with storytelling and something that sounds better than just like throwing facts to people. So yeah, I would say that networking is way different than here. For sure.
Is it also regarding, because this, I would say the stereotype is that it's really easy to get to know Americans on a superficial level, but then it's very hard to be, like, to get into a more deeper conversation, for example. Would you say that's true?
100%.
Okay.
In fact, I was in an MBA class in UC Berkeley, and they were just referring to this as the peach and the coconut personalities, right? So they would just talk about Germans as a coconut because they said that it's like very complicated to approach you, and then once you are in the coconut, everything is like, once you are friends and you become closer, you are actually close to each other.
Yeah.
But Americans, it is like a peach, like there's like a thin layer and inside is kind of like, yeah, it's very complicated to get to really be
the core.
Yeah, to the core. It's
the
just a
core is
different
very
game.
small.
And the core is like really hard to get. Like, imagine the peach, right? It's like the
but
core
the
is just
coconut
there.
doesn't even have a core. I mean, it's a
But
weird
it's all
analogy.
water, right? I don't know. It was not me the one who created it. But yeah.
But I understand. I think the one is hard to get in, basically, into the
Exactly.
deeper layers, and the other is more easier. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and you already mentioned a little bit this bragging aspect. How to say? If we look more into this like sales part of business, I would say, I also feel that is approached very differently.
Yeah, so what I've seen, also me trying to do sales in the US, is that, again, like, you need to say more things and kind of like tell a story. In the US, storytelling, especially for when you go raise funds, but also when you go sell to someone, is very important. I would say it's also... So when you go get salespeople, like, it takes an American to sell to an American. That's what it's usually said. Like, you really need to also identify the good salespeople because they will talk milk and honey and you would believe that that person is actually great for sales, but in the end, they don't show results. So you really need to go deeper into these conversations with them and try to understand how the culture is. So if you're trying to sell to an American, you need to, of course, brag more than what I've seen around Europe. And you also need to be very straightforward. For instance, in Europe, in Spain, when I want to sell to in a B2B way, right? I need to maybe have a coffee with this person. Then I need to go take them out for dinner. I need to then send a thank you message and all of that. So you may be wasting your time with that kind of person, and in the end, you may not be closing the sale. Whereas in America, I feel like people are very straightforward in a way in which, yeah, they can be a little bit fake or like peachy, as I said before. But if they are not interested, they are not going to mess around. Like they are going to be like, no, it's 30 minutes for you. I am willing to take these 30 minutes, but if it's not interesting for me, then it's a pass.
Okay, so it's both more honest and less honest.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
The result is faster regarding the honesty aspect. It's faster, but
Yeah.
the process maybe feels a little bit more fake, or like more braggy.
Yeah,
Okay. So-
that's a nice way of describing it, actually.
I mean, it's very efficient. I mean, yeah.
It is very efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, these are people that don't really have a lot of time. I mean, here we are also very VC around Europe, of course. But I feel like we take these things like, the birds that want to mate between them. And then there's this courtesy and then the dance that they do. I feel like we need to do the dance to some specific people in specific industries. Whereas in the US, it's usually very straightforward. However, if you get into medtech, or like if you're trying to sell to hospitals, you also need to understand that there's a lot of committees involved into the decision-making process. So it's not like what I've seen, for instance, in Spain, that you go talk to one doctor, and if the doctor really, really likes the solution, they are going to talk to the CFO or the rest of the personnel involved in the hospital. In the US, in that case, it's a committee decision. And so, okay, you may be talking to the doctor, but then there's a committee decision, and there's the financial guy. There may also be the security guy, the head of nurses. So there's a lot of people involved in the decision-making process. And
Was it more your experience as a biotech founder, or would you say that's also the case, for example, if you would like to sell to a big corporate from whatever?
This is especially for medtech, biotech. If you want to sell to big corporates, you also, of course, need to understand the different stakeholders. Depending on the industry, of course, there's also a committee's decision-making process. And depending, of course, which person you're talking to, you may need some convincing arguments or some others. But this is some specific case in which it's harder in the medtech, biotech industry when hospitals are involved.
So basically, decision processes in general are a little bit different, but individuals like to decide faster than in Europe. That would be your...
So funny, so kind of yes and no.
Okay.
I've been talking to some founders also in my space, medtech, biotech.
Yeah.
And so what they say is that when they approach the US market at first, they believe that because people are more straightforward, it's 30 minutes, yes or no, then it's going to be like less bureaucracy and less committees involved in the decision-making process. But in this specific case, there's even more bureaucracy than in some places around Europe. However, in corporates, it depends on like how much you're selling the product to.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are some companies in which if the product or the solution is less than 50K, then they don't need to raise it up to the CFO and they don't need to involve other people. They can make the decision themselves.
Yeah.
It depends on how much money it is.
Okay, so if you're dealing with individuals, it's more direct. If you're not dealing with individuals, it's basically the same corporate mayhem as in Europe, probably.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think maybe it's interesting. There's probably some regional differences in Europe. So I would say maybe in Germany there's less courtship maybe than in Spain. I don't know. So maybe also California is different from other states.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you make any experiences there?
So I would say that each state is very different in terms of culture. And there's some states which are more techy and more straightforward. Like I would say that California, like in New York area, are like that. New York is more into fintech, insurance tech, whereas California, you find some startups. You also find a lot of techies. And then the Boston area is more for medtech. But your style of selling also needs to be adapted to the region in which you are selling. People in Texas, people in some other like regions which are more, I would say, rural or like less tech driven, are used to interacting with each other in a different way, which I have not been experiencing that much. So I cannot tell you much about that kind of like style of networking. But I feel like in the Bay, things happen really quick, really fast, and you need to be adapting to that. And like just when you talk to someone, straight to the point, how you can help them or how they may help you, but like ask for help, very straightforward. Just don't waste your time.
So if you want to go to the US market, take some time and maybe some people
Exactly.
that help you navigate the whole space.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that later because I've got even more questions about differences between the US and Europe.
Amazing.
So regarding market size and market access, I mean, it's a pretty obvious one, but yeah, I think the US has some very, very nice advantages in that respect, at least for now.
Yeah. So if you compare the US size to Europe, I have like an image in my mind of the map of the US on top of the map of Europe. It's like even the US is a little bit bigger than Europe, right? So, and it's also that the US is a more unified market with like in the end the federal law, whereas in Europe we have different countries in which each of them have their own law. Like in the end, yeah, we are all in the European Union, right? But each country has their own independency. It's a bit similar. In the US, there's this like big law on top of everything. And then, of course, every state has their own like independencies. But it's way more unified than Europe for sure.
So if we're talking about market size and access, it's just easier to get started in the US and maybe start in one state, but then quickly go to all states, or like immediately basically go to all states, right?
I think it's easier also because culture in the US, yeah, culture in California is going to be different than culture in Texas, but it's more unified than culture from Germany to Spain, for instance. But I would also say, like, for instance, if you are creating a medical device, you need FDA approval. Then you get FDA approval, and then you may be able to expand to different states at the same time. You don't really have to go through the Spanish medical system, then through the German medical system. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that it's easier to start a business in the US than in Germany, especially if you are Germans and you already know your culture, you already know the needs of your customers here, or the product that the problem that you want to solve, then you may want to start your business here, providing first of all a solution to those problems here that you've been growing with and you understand deeply. And then once you have an established market in Germany, you can expand to the US. But first of all, you need to understand the needs in the new market. And then after that, expand to the market and then consider to open headquarters in Delaware, for instance, and even like raise funds there. Because as an immigrant, it's like very complicated to start in the US right away. And you may need to raise funds also in order to get an O1 visa, which we can talk about later if you're interested.
Yeah. I've got questions about that as well. Like very technical questions. How would I do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, you're not really advising people to go as a first step to the US?
I think that if you are already here in Germany, you have a problem to solve and you understand the needs of your customers here, it's just easier. That's the first step of starting a business, right? Like we always start with this design thinking methodology. Like, okay, what are the needs? Like who is our customer? And then we can like become best friends with the customer. Like we understand all of their hobbies. We understand how the decision making process works. But if you want to go to the US, you need to start that process all over again. Like some of the things may be similar, but some of the things may be just so different, way different. Then it just doesn't make sense for me to move to the US right away and start the business here if you already have a deep understanding of your customers here. Just why? Why the US? Just you need to ask yourself before moving to another country or starting something different, like why? Why am I doing this? Is it
Yeah.
because everyone is doing it? Is it because it's cool? Like, what am I willing to learn? Maybe it's because the needs of the customers are bigger in the US, and then you have a bigger need to solve, and therefore your value proposition may be more important in the US than in Germany. But if that's not the case, and you already know the German market, like, why should you move right away?
And you also need basically to learn a lot of rules that are sort of different. How to say make sales, how to do sales. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
How to understand, or like people having different needs. Maybe we can also talk about that a little bit.
And you
in the
also
end.
need to go through the visa process,
Yeah,
which is long and expensive.
and probably getting very hard at the moment.
I think that for founders, it's more or less the same. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen any personal changes in that
Interesting.
field. Yeah.
There's also the stereotype that the European Union tends to over-regulate everything.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is entirely true, because I can imagine that the US federal government and the states also like to regulate everything. What's your experience on that front? So can you hope for less regulations when you go to the US? Is it easier because you can just do whatever you want?
I think that the regulations are different. So in Europe, I mean, I haven't been going through all the regulations from Europe, but whenever I talk to founders, that's what they tell me. So, and it's not only from medtech, it's like from all of the different industries. Like now, AI, right? AI is like way more regulated, and the data protection is way more regulated here in Europe than in the US. So if you're working around AI or you're working around also medtech, it's just easier to start it in the US. But again, you need to think about the visa process. You need to think about the needs of your potential customers. And incorporating the business in the US is not hard. For me, I would say the hardest process is once you have your business incorporated, you can own a business in the US, but then from owning a business to working in the business is different. Like you need to get a work visa in order to act as a worker of the business that you have just created in the US.
Yeah, so you cannot just start as the founder. You need to say, I work as a founder, and then get the...
Exactly. Like I could just right now open a Delaware C Corp in the US, and then what? I cannot just go there and work as a founder. I need to get a specific visa and then start to work there. And the visa, again, it's not that everyone can get a visa. Like you may need to raise funds first, and then you may need to have other accomplishments.
Could you work from Spain?
Yes, but then it's like 9-hour different time. Like,
yeah, sure.
You need to go talk to your customers. You need to deal with things.
Also tax problems, probably like cross-border taxing issues and stuff like that.
Yeah. You may need to start talking to several lawyers,
Yeah.
So it gets complicated.
Okay. Have you made or what were your personal experiences regarding that? I mean, as a person from Spain founding in the US?
So for me, the whole visa process was very complicated. Like for instance, I went to the US as an exchange student with a J1. And so when I was there with something called startup semester. So I was there to found my startup, meet my co-founders, and then find a real problem, do market discovery, customer interviews, and really understand the needs of the market. But then I needed to extend my visa in order to stay in the US, right? And so I had to go from one grant to another grant, from one like J1 into another J1. And so I'm telling you, like, yeah, you may want to raise funds or you may want to become a founder in the US, but it's not just that easy.
Yeah.
It's just a very complex process. If you have funds already, if you've raised funds, for instance, in Europe, in Germany, like I have several friends from Sigma Squared, and like they raise funds here, or they may have also some investors in the US, and then they get the O1 visa, because that's one of the big requirements, like fundraising. But then you also need to cover other aspects, like you need to have letter of recommendations from other people. You need to show that you are a person of interest. The O1 is exceptional people visa. So you need to really show that you are exceptional. That's why I don't think
Understood.
that the
Yeah.
new administration is against these people with the
Okay.
O1 visas, because like in the end, it's like highly educated talent that are in the end bringing
As long as they
money.
can profit basically from you
Exactly.
coming. Okay. Yeah, the
It's
gates
like
are
new
still open.
money
Yeah.
in the country. Who would be against that, right?
Okay. And when you were at Skydeck at UC Berkeley, did they also help you with that process?
So because I was already with like a visa, I didn't have to go through any other processes.
Okay.
But I know some people who were outside of the visa, and like now with this new administration, they had to go through several conversations with lawyers. So it really depends on where you're coming from, your background, like if you have already incorporated your business in the US or you have not. So yeah, you would need to talk to a lawyer for those answers. I don't really know.
Yeah, yeah. But have you heard like from people who got US investment and then went to the US market?
Oh yeah.
Did the VCs help them with that process?
It's a very straightforward process once you have investment.
Yeah.
So what people usually do is that okay, if you have investment, if an investor in the US wants to invest in you, they would ask you to incorporate in Delaware company, a Delaware C Corp. If you have your headquarters in Europe, sometimes they ask for a Delaware C Corp, like a flip. And sometimes they don't really mind, but if you have 100% US investors, you may need to incorporate, of course, in Delaware. And so the process is like very easy. Like you can do it with an online tool, which is called
Okay.
like, for instance, Clerky. And it's like $1,000.
Yeah.
It takes like 1 week.
Okay.
And then you get your EIN. And then
What is an yeah.
it's like an employer identification number. And
Okay.
so with that number, it's like a social security number, but for a business.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
need to use it to open your bank account, to hire people in the US. And also with that number, you can also use it to sponsor yourself a visa, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm trying to explain it with very simple terms. So you get
Yeah.
that number, you open your bank account, which takes from 1 to 3 business days. And it's usually like some people use Mercury, some people use Brex, like online banks. You can also use traditional banks, but the online banks are, they have a lot of perks for founders. And then you have to receive the money from the investors, and you can then talk to lawyers and start the process for an O1 visa. Through that process, I've heard some cases of founders going with an ESTA visa, which is a tourist but also business visa to the US. So you can go there and it's not a work visa, so you don't work, but you go to conferences, you go meet people, networking events.
Yeah.
And you are there in the ecosystem, but you're not working yet. And then once you get the O1 visa, which takes like 1 to 3 months, then you can actually go to the US and work as a founder there.
What does sponsor mean in that case? Just that basically the company that you created in Delaware basically says this person's working for us. It's okay that it's the person's here, or does it also mean that the Delaware C Corp has to pay you a salary, for example, to show the US government that you're not like becoming a social security case for them that they have to feed?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. I know that a sponsor is, so you need someone with a EIN, right? Who is going to kind of like provide the work for you.
Okay.
And you may need also, of course, to get a social security number.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure if, I guess that the company would need, to pay you a salary if you're a founder.
Yeah.
But as a founder, you can decide if you want to have a very low salary or a very high salary.
yeah.
It's usually the former, right? It's not usually a very low salary.
Okay. Really, really interesting. Maybe we can touch upon this whole, like, how would you actually do it a little bit more later. We talked about funding from the US right now. Honest question, is it easier to get funding in the US or not?
Easier than what?
Than Europe?
I mean, I've seen some people that, these three Fs, like family, friends, and fools.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's more money around the Bay Area than around some parts of Europe, right? So
Okay.
I was
Okay.
just, when I was in UC Berkeley, I was like talking to other founders, and they were like, yeah, I just raised the three Fs, like 300K, and then we started to do the prototypes, and now like I'm going to talk to also some other angel investors. And yeah, I've seen, like, when I was in one of the classes called technology entrepreneurship, like we raised 1.5 million
The class.
in the class. Yeah, like we created a startup, and then we pitched in front of investors,
Yeah.
and then we ended up doing that. So it's just, I wouldn't say
Crazy.
easier.
Yeah.
I would say that you need to know the rules of the game that you are playing, and you need to play by those rules.
Yeah.
So if you're good at understanding the problem that the customer has, and the market size is really big, you have some letter of intention or already some traction in the market, an MVP, a good team is very, very important in these early stages. It's not that me and my 5 friends from aerospace
Yeah.
engineering we're
Sure.
building something,
You and your friend.
but you need to have a diverse team, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a really good skill set, and then a good story.
Yeah.
I would say, as I said before, I would just repeat it, like storytelling is crucial in the US when you're raising funds, but also a good team in these early stages.
Okay. So.
And know your competitors, please. Like if you wanna, also in the US.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, you gotta know your stuff
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So, okay. So there's more money around. Are there also more people around that are good co-founders, or like is there more talent around?
Yeah,
So looking at first employees and stuff like that.
there's very good universities. Here you also have to, like, that's a very good university. So I feel like when you have this talent coming from top universities, it's easier to find good co-founder, and then focus on a problem, deeply understand the problem, and find a solution for that problem. Validate. But I would say that when you're a very good student, and I can also say this by myself, I'm very perfectionist, and I needed to live and learn that, live with uncertainty and learn that perfectionism is not a good quality of a founder. So you really need to create something like, I know, like some other founder said it the other day, right? Like, just create something that it's just like you're not very proud of, and you're just gonna
Yeah.
put it outside in the market, and you're gonna test it. And
Yeah. Be fast.
yeah, be fast and just fail fast. And fail cheap, fail cheap.
Hey, fast and cheap.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's important.
But I mean, talent that's also like connected to funding probably. I mean, the 1.5 million in the US is probably half of that in Europe. So if you like look at salaries and stuff like that, would you say that's true? So is it really that much more expensive to found in the US and to have people working for you?
I mean, right now, you have a lot of companies that, especially in IT, like Virtido, they may help you find your software developers, like good talent overseas. So in terms of software developers or engineers, it's easier to find someone overseas. Though if you are a startup and you already have some funds, like $2 million, $3 million, you may want to have your first workers with you in person, because team is very important in these early stages. So just having them close to you is really good. I would say that it may not be that expensive, because you can also give them equity, right?
Yeah.
So of course you're not gonna pay them $500,000. Like maybe you're not gonna pay them a Google or an Amazon salary,
Yeah.
but you can give them stock options.
Yeah.
So
And the
that's
cost of living, I mean, it's exploding in Munich
yeah.
as well, but I guess it's really, really high.
It is very high. Like for me, it could be the least amount of money that I was paying, like 1.5K per month for an apartment, like a shared apartment.
Just the apartment.
Yeah, not including flights, not including the food. I've met some people who are even paying like 2.5 or 3K, especially if you're looking for an apartment in San Francisco. So of course you cannot pay someone 5K or 3K a month, because
Yeah.
they are not going to even
Survive.
survive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
and food is very expensive, and transportation is not that expensive, but I would say that the cost of living, like the apartment, the rent is the most expensive thing.
Would you say it's also an option then to go maybe to some different, I don't know, counties in California, or to found outside of California to be in a cheaper place? Or would you advise against doing such
I would,
adventures?
I would personally advise to be where your customers are.
Yeah.
Meet them where they are, right? And so if they are in the Bay, just go to the Bay. If they are in Boston, just go to Boston.
Yeah.
If they are in New York, just go there.
But there's enough of ecosystem in any of the bigger hubs that you would say it's cool to be there.
I think it's also very cheap once you are in the U.S. to travel by plane from one place to another, even though it's like 6 hours or 6 hours and a half away. It's just very cheap. It's cheaper than just flying from here.
Okay.
But yeah, I would stay in the main hubs.
Yeah.
I would personally, I mean, I'm very biased, but I would stay in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's assume now that I or somebody who's listening has decided to start their company or subsidiary in the US. So how would I technically do it, and how fast can it go? How expensive is the stuff? Just give me a short run through all the stuff that you would have to do.
I would say something very similar to what I said before. So first of all, you can use online tools, and you can use them to incorporate your business in the US. It may take like 1 week max and $1,000 max.
And everybody's going to Delaware, or?
Yeah, that's what the investors want usually.
Okay.
Delaware C Corp.
Why is that?
It's something standard because of the laws and the taxes. It's just very comfortable for investors to be giving the money to the companies there.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very standard process. It's like if you found your company, if you incorporate your company in a different state, it's sometimes like a no-go. Yeah, they really like Delaware C Corp.
Okay, so basically it's not I'm trying to be this very sneaky smart person when I'm going to Delaware. It's just everybody's doing it, and basically people expect you to do it.
Exactly, 100%. It's like the normal thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like getting a driver's license before getting the car. I don't know, it's just like a standard thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the best
because
example.
Because if you would tell the
like,
average German on the street, like, oh, I'm creating the C Corp in Delaware, they're like, are you trying to save on taxes, or why are you doing this shady thing? You know, that's the ring.
No.
Okay,
it's a standard thing.
Okay, and that's why I was pressing on it. You know.
No.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
So you do that first, and then once you incorporate your business, you get this EIN number, and then with that number you can go and open a bank account. Some of the like you can even from the online tool that you can use. You can send NDAs, safe notes.
Just one question. So even though I don't have an American passport, I can just go to this online tool. What was it called?
Like Clerky, for instance. Yeah.
And I can just create a C Corp.
Yeah.
Interesting. So is that easy because you're from the European Union and there's some special laws, or is it just does it apply for anybody?
I think it applies for everyone.
Okay, interesting.
But again, like having a company in the U.S., Delaware C Corp, doesn't mean that you are going to have a work visa right away.
Yeah.
So owning a company in the U.S. doesn't mean that you can work for that company in the U.S.
Yeah.
You need to get an O1 visa, which is, that's the only visa I know that people get when they are founders. There's sometimes B1, B2 visas, but it's mainly the...
O1 is exceptional.
Yeah, exactly. And so you do that first, and then you open the bank account. As I said, like you can use online banks or you can use traditional ones, but usually for startups, we have a very good system for online banking. And then
is that like specific banks that really like give special like offers to startups, or
like Mercury, Brex?
Okay.
The online banks are usually cheaper, and they have some perks for founders.
And you don't have to be in the US maybe to do your operations, you know. You don't have to maybe to talk to a person in real. You can just do it via, I don't know, online ID or stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure their online service is quite good. Yeah, the customer service. And then once you have the bank, then you can receive the money from investors, and then you can also, of course, you need to get your O1 visa
Yeah.
in order to start working. But as I said before, you can go first to the US with an ESTA, business ESTA, which is a tourist slash business. Of course, you cannot work there with that
Yeah.
visa, but you can still go to conferences, networking events, and you can start to create the network that
Yeah.
will, in the end, help you get to your KPIs.
And how long does the ESTA allow you to stay in the US? Do you know that?
The ESTA, yeah, it's up to 3 months
Okay.
every time you go, and then a maximum period of 6 months every year.
Okay, so that's quite a lot,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you can bridge this first phase with the ESTA, and then the other visa process. How fast is it? So how long does it take for
The
this
O1.
O1 to
So
get
you first
approved?
need to talk to lawyers, and if a lawyer decides to take your case, it's a very, very high chance that you're gonna get the visa, like 90 to 99%, right?
Okay.
And then you first
But so the hurdle is basically before, because the lawyers say, "Oh, you have no chance."
exactly.
Okay.
So the lawyers know, they have been doing this for a long
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and they see your case. Like
Yeah.
they usually, there's like a form that you need to complete, and then depending on the requirements and your profile, they may say, oh, work on these areas. You may need to do a little bit more of, maybe like sometimes you need to have an article published on you or the company.
Yeah.
You need to have an investment round or other things. But this process, in the end, from the very start in which you start to talk to the lawyer to until you get the O1, it's like 3 months, 4 months.
Okay, that's quite acceptable time frame, I would say.
Yeah. You can also pay some express fees.
Okay.
So in the end, I think that the express is that instead of a processing time of 3 months for the O1, you get it in 1 month or even like 1 week sometimes.
Yeah, wow, okay. And this
Yeah.
is something that you're doing on the federal level, right? This is not with the state of California. I'm doing this with the federal government of the US.
Yeah, it's a visa for the whole US, yeah.
Okay.
But you get the visa for a specific purpose. So you get the O1 for being a founder in this specific area, and then industry, and then because
Okay, so you have to be, so to say basically, I'm a founder in the Bay Area, whatever, for biotech. Okay.
and explain why you are exceptional in that field. Well, the
Yeah.
lawyers know. It's just you go talk to an immigration attorney and they'll figure it out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you have the money in your bank account from the investors, it's a really straightforward process. And they've been doing this with other companies before. So,
Yeah. Okay. And lawyers in the US sounds like this could be quite expensive. So, any experience on that front?
yeah, I was lucky enough. I'm very social, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went to a networking event, and then I met a friend of mine, and he was like, Mar, if you ever have any issues with immigration, just let me know because I have contacts, you know? And I was like, my mom is an immigration lawyer. And I was like, thank God.
Oh,
so
okay.
friends of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of consultancy sessions like, please, like, take a look at my profile and let me know what I should do next in order to get this visa or this other visa.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of support.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, some friends have told me that if you use ChatGPT for immigration questions, it's actually quite good.
Okay.
But in the
Yeah.
end, you need to, of course, talk to a lawyer,
Yeah,
and
sure.
they have to assess your specific case. But it can get very expensive, yeah.
So it's like 5K, 10K, 20K. What
10,
would you say?
20K for an O1
Okay.
seems fair.
And the O1 itself, does it cost a certain amount of money, or is it?
Yeah, usually when you pay the lawyer, they have some packages and they may include the application fees.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't think I've met anyone that the O1 visa was more than 10K.
Yeah. Okay.
Then I don't know how much is the express fee, but you also need to pay some money if you want the visa to be processed faster.
Okay, but if you have raised funds, this should be manageable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the common pitfalls you would say? Is there anything that
When you
goes
want
wrong?
to expand to
Yeah.
the US?
Yeah, or just starting a company in the US. We can go to the expansion case next.
When you're starting a company in the US, okay. So I feel like by being there, I've seen that a lot of people are highly motivated and they think that they are going to be the big next thing. And then you can be very motivated. It's great. And it's also very helpful when you go talk to other people. They kind of like vibe with your energy and it's even more convincing. But if you are arrogant and you are not like really down to earth, you may think that your solution is better than it actually is, or that you may focus too much on the great product or the great solution that you are building, which is not even adapted to the market and is not fulfilling any needs. This happens a lot to technical founders that create something like, say that I've been doing some research in the lab, where I've been doing something super cool in my laboratory. And then, oh, I have this great idea. This is going to help a lot of people. So when you start with the product rather than with the problem, then it's just
So that's the flip side of the
full.
different networking culture, because everybody is really friendly in the beginning, right? So you think like, oh, I've got this awesome solution, and you're not really getting far enough, like really testing, do people actually want it, or is it more part of the networking style to say that it's awesome what you do?
So I wouldn't approach someone and tell them what you are building, but if you're in this discovery phase, I would approach them and tell them about like open questions about the needs in
Yeah.
order to validate the needs first. And then I would honestly not start a conversation with like, this is the great thing that I'm building. Like what I usually do when I network with people is I really try to understand what the other person is doing, like kind of like try to see the soul of the other person and really engage with them. Like I'm a fan of meaningful connections. Just vibe, like go there, talk to the people and truly try to understand who the other person is. And then when they ask, and what about you? What are you working on? Then you can explain what you're working on, but always explain it from which problem is the problem that you are solving,
Yeah,
and tell a
sure.
story.
Yeah.
Because techies, like we all start, oh, my product has this feature, and this other feature.
I'm using this amazing Python library, and it's this new ML whatever, you know, like, yeah,
Right? I'm like, what? Like people are getting lost. They don't understand.
yeah, yeah.
So you're not truly engaging with them. You're
And
not
that's
connecting
probably
with
also interesting if you're like expanding to the US, that you can first, like the first couple of interactions can maybe feel like, oh wow, people are gonna love us here. They're gonna buy everything. And then you find out in the next step, oh, but the needs are different in the US. And so it's maybe smart to flip also the script around there, right? So how would you approach
Yeah,
that?
so from my experience, I have been seeing that they believe that they know the customer because sometimes they have experience in Germany, Switzerland, maybe in the UK, and they know what the customer needs are, and so they want to start selling. They may book some flights, and then they may go to some conferences. They spend like, I don't know, 50K, 100K through like hiring people and then
Just
trying
starting
to
sales
sell.
immediately.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
okay.
then they try to do this like go for it, like go to conferences, this trial and error approach, and then they waste time and money. And after that, they are like, wow, like I have not been able to sell anything. Like, what's
Shit.
wrong?
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe it's
yeah.
because you are not understanding the customer needs and you are not adapting your messaging and you are not also understanding like how the decision making process is, who is involved into that decision making process, and like who's the final buyer and who has the need, who's the user.
So how do I
Maybe.
do it right?
So what I would do first of all is to start an outreach campaign, but an outreach campaign trying to understand the needs of the people. So just asking for help, right?
So not saying, oh, we built this product, but like you taught us about networking earlier, just understanding the people.
Exactly. So you reach out to them, specific profiles, right? With a hypothesis or several hypotheses in mind and some questions, open questions that would help you validate those hypotheses. This is very related to this design thinking methodology, right?
Yeah.
And then once you've heard the same answer 10, 15 times, maybe it's because that's actually the answer and not another one that you may have in mind beforehand.
Yeah.
So validating the needs with potential customers without trying to sell at first is going to help you then build the right messaging for them and then do a cold outreach, and also even use those warm introductions already. And they may know other people who has a pain, and if your solution is actually solving a huge need, they are going to introduce you to their friends in need, right?
So basically, don't underestimate how different the US might be, and take the time to go back a few steps and to basically in the, I don't know, this double diamond or design thinking or however you call it, go back to the beginning more and understand the needs.
Exactly. If you're building up a sales pipeline with some hypotheses and some things that you believe that are the same that in Europe, then everything is going to fall so easily.
Okay, and I mean, probably founders, they have a lot to do. They're really busy.
Yeah.
So is there like any platform or any people that could help me? I mean, maybe you as well. So how would you like advise people to do it or to approach it?
So first of all, if you are straightforward and you are humble, I've seen, for me at least, like LinkedIn outreach has been very useful when I firstly tried to connect with people. I mean, I have to say I have a different story because I went through UC Berkeley, and so having the UC Berkeley tag is easier when you are in a networking event and oh, you're like a Cal student, and it's like easier to connect with people, and they just, oh, you're a smart kid, like they're gonna be there to
They're
help
going to
you.
listen to you.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you show up there and you have a clear idea of what you want, who you want to talk to, and just try to learn from them, as I said, like it's easier, from my experience, even easier than in Europe, to just have a 30-minute conversation with them and learn from them.
But would you get assistance, or would you say founders have to do it themselves?
I mean, for instance, I hope with USA Launching Pad companies from Europe that want to expand to the US market, of course, you can do this yourself, but we've been doing this so many times with dozens of companies, and we have this methodology that is actually working. So it's just cheaper and in the end faster, and it's like de-risking your US expansion with us as a partner. But if you want to do it yourself, like very low budget, you can also do it. It's just going to take more time, more money, maybe a lot of trial and error if you want to go through that approach that I
Yeah.
would not recommend you to go
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
But yeah, you can do it, just it's going to be tough.
Okay, so you mentioned one term earlier that I didn't understand, to be honest. What's a Delaware flip?
Okay.
It sounds like buying a house and selling it directly after.
It sounds like
flipping my crib, you know?
it's like, say that you start a business in here in Germany, and
Okay.
like some people have also headquarters in the US, and they may flip, like they may even like take the IP from the Germany headquarters to like the US ones. And like the investors sometimes want you to have like the Delaware C Corp as like the main hub for the business, and have the investor money in there. Because let's say, imagine that you are an investor in the US, and you are not used to the Germany laws. You don't really know how it works here. It's just way easier to just invest the money in the US in a Delaware corp. Though like most of the investors are going to, according to my experience, are going to ask you to move at least one of the founding team members to the US and be there, like as I said before, be where your customers are.
Yeah.
And just it's just easier to, as an investor, see someone there in person and see your face, and they can assess you better. They are going to also, of course, help you a lot, but depending on the investor that you get, right?
Yeah.
But just being in the US.
Okay, so that this flip is then basically the Delaware C Corp. Is it like the holding company? No, it's like the operational company. You're running your business, your day-to-day business through that company.
I think so, though. Like, I'm not an expert in this field. Again, it's like
Okay, okay.
immigration lawyers.
Because if
Like,
you have a German company, right, this US could also be a subsidiary of your company, right? But it should be the...
I think it's like the main one is the Delaware one, and then the
Okay.
subsidiary will be the German one.
Okay, so that's
But
the way they
again,
want it.
I don't take care of that. Like, we have some
Yeah.
lawyers, and like we have some experts who take
Yeah.
care of those things.
Okay. So if people are interested in doing that, they can send you a message on LinkedIn and you will refer
Exactly.
them?
Yeah,
Okay.
they can reach out to me.
Awesome.
If I don't know the
People
answer, I
check
know
out
the right
Mar.
person. I'm not a lawyer yet, you know.
Yeah, you already talked about a little bit about yeah, that's so be careful when going to the US market, and you also talk about design thinking, but maybe it's also talk about a little bit about like customer expectations. And so once you have the customers, also like, is it different? What do US buyers expect, and what are like the arguments? How do you win them? Because I think they're it's a little bit different also from Europe, maybe.
Okay, I think that first of all, it depends on the industry. It depends on what you're building. So, I mean, I'm not sure that I can give a generic answer.
Yeah.
But what I can say, funny experience that I've had, in the US, some customers are really, really used to suing, like taking legal actions.
Okay.
So they would just threaten with suing you.
Before they buy or after, and then they're like, oh, I'm leaving next month and I'm gonna sue you.
I don't think they can sue you before they pay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's what I've heard. I've never been in an experience like this, but
Yeah.
yeah, so some founders I've been talking to, they were like, some
Okay.
companies prefer to keep the IP in Europe more protected, and then if they sue your company in the US, they really like cannot do
Get
much.
to the IP that easy.
But again, I've not been involved with any like suing scenario. In terms of customer expectations, like I would say that in the US, for instance, okay, we had a company, and they were creating some devices for security at homes, right? And so it was just a box that would be placed inside of the house, and it would just create noises and just lights. So if you are someone who wants to break in the house, you may think that there's people inside, so you are not just being inside. And so when we were talking to when they were talking to the US customers, they needed to change the pricing and the business model per se, like the pricing strategy, because instead of paying like maybe like 300 euros or $300 one time payment fee, they would rather pay like 200 and then have a subscription model, because people in the US are more used to like having this kind of subscription models. Also, like people in the US are used to this, like in the healthcare sector, going through insurances or going through like specific medical providers. So in Spain, people are not expecting to pay for some medical devices because it's usually included under the social security. But in the US, that mindset is different. So yeah, I don't know how to give like
So
a generic question.
different pricing strategies.
Oh yeah, pricing
Okay.
strategies are different.
And do people like buy faster but also quit your service faster? That would be like one stereotype that I have in mind.
Maybe if you're a SaaS company. Again, if you're in a hospital, it may take even more bureaucracy and the process may be longer, or for some like public institutions too. But I think that, yeah, they are more willing to try. I think that's the vibe that they give me, yeah.
Okay. But they're also willing to leave then quick. Or
Maybe. Like, I'm also thinking about another example. Like, I have also a friend founder who's creating this system with phones, like renting. So in the US, renting is quite common, like for phones. Like, I have several friends who just like pay every month, and then they either decide if they want to keep the phone or they want to keep paying and then get another phone, like a new model of an iPhone. Whereas I feel like in Spain, or I don't know about Germany, but like we are more used to like buying the phone and it's our phone. So that's also a difference in how like consumers behave in different countries. But again, I'm more used to the B2B side than the B2C.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, I mean, this comes back to the thing you said before. Don't go into the US with the same expectations as in Europe.
Exactly.
Check out the market, do your due diligence on the US, basically.
Yes.
And is the problem really there also as well? And go through this process.
Yeah. And then from all of the cool features that you've built, what are actually those features that the customers want from you, right?
Yeah.
Not only the needs, but also the solutions addressing those needs.
Okay, we already talked about your LinkedIn. So in which cases should people now reach out to you?
Yeah, so if you're interested in the US market, especially, if you're a later stage company like in seed or Series A, you're interested in exploring the US, super happy to help with USA Launching Pad. And myself as a former founder, I'm super interested also in helping just fellows who are interested in exploring new opportunities, who may be curious about my experience there, or who have some questions about outreach or customer discovery. Super happy to help.
And also if you're looking for IT talent, right?
If you're looking for IT talent too, especially, as I said, if you are, for instance, in Germany or in the US and you are looking for software engineers, you're looking for great talent, especially if you are in fintech or you're looking for AI developers. I'm sure you're going to also listen to Sebastian's podcast, right?
Yeah.
He's one of the founders of Virtido. And so we can also help you find the right talent in a cost-effective way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If the stage is now yours, any final words? What would you recommend to listeners who are in the startup space or like in this whole young professional ecosystem? What should they do after listening to the episode?
So I want to leave a personal note here. So I feel like sometimes we are very scared of failure, and being scared of failing is sometimes being scared of trying. And especially if I feel this is more common in women, right? We have this imposter syndrome, I'm not enough, I don't know how to do it. Well, you'll figure it out. Just go for it. You're going to learn through the process. You don't need to have all of the answers right now, but you'll go and you'll figure it out. I feel like entrepreneurship is like one of my mentors in UC Berkeley said, driving a car and you have a lot of fog around you. You can only see as far as the lights from the car allow you to see. You're not gonna hit yourself against the wall if the car is not a very, very fast speed, but you don't know where are you heading. You just know that you are going somewhere and it's going to be somewhere good if you understand the customer needs. There's a big problem and you address those problems with specific solutions. So I would say that go for it and don't be afraid of failure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was really, really nice having you. And I learned a lot. So looking forward to catching up maybe sometime later.
Thank you for having me.
Spark is proudly presented by Ripple Film, storytelling for tech, B2B, and beyond.